Agriculture is a large part of the economy in the United States today, and it always has been. At one point in the colonial days, the majority of people worked on a farm, and today we have increased our productivity levels by 3 times. Although this efficiency is great economically, there are some downsides to how this impacts our environment. New methods of farming are hurting the soil and therefore causing some major problems, many of which are hard to reverse.
Soil damage. Intensive farming causes soil erosion, and this has negative impacts on productivity. 10 times more soil is eroded than replaced in the United States. The topsoil is eroded away is almost irreplaceable since it takes so long to form even an inch. The impacts erosion has on productivity is going unnoticed due to the modern farming techniques that include so much technology. This makes it seem as if productivity is not being harmed. These techniques make the erosion even worse, hurting long-term production. The erosion also has a negative economic impact. The eroded soil clogs things like rivers and also gets into drinking water, contaminating it. This causes problems of around $1 billion per year. Water contamination. As mentioned before, water contamination is another issue caused by farming. Surface runoff causes things like pesticides and manure to enter streams, lakes, and more. This can create a large amount of bacteria entering into the water. Since farms use vast amounts of fertilizer, the surface runoff that gets into the water contains a lot of fertilizer that can be harmful. The nitrate and fertilizers used on farms can cause water to be undrinkable. The phosphorus in it can increase the number of aquatic plants, causing immense amounts of algae that can kill fish.
Deforestation and flooding. Deforestation happens in order to have space for things like farms. However, this causes soil erosion. Trees keep soil in place, and uprooting them causes wind and rain to move this loose soil. This loose sediment gets into waters, causing streams and rivers to not be able to flow properly, resulting in floods. The plants that are put in place of the trees, like coffee or wheat, actually can be bad for the soil, therefore making the erosion even worse. Eventually, this soil will not have the fertility desired by the farmers, so they will then cut down more trees and continue the process. Overgrazing. Large amounts of animals walking all over soil can negatively impact the soil crusts, especially when the animals are more rough. These crusts are essential for things like water infiltration and biomass production, and overall causes a disturbance for the soil. This also causes soil to become very compact. This can hurt roots by bringing many of them to the surface, therefore the plants cannot receive the essentials it needs to grow. Chemicals. Farmers use many chemicals, like pesticides, to help grow their crops. However, when the farmers use too many chemicals, the soil composition is impacted, therefore changing the microorganism balance. The imbalance spikes the growth of bad bacteria in the soil. The soil is then filled with all of these bad microorganisms. There are some other issues caused by modern farming practices. One major one is air pollution. However, there are smaller ones too, like waste from animals spreading diseases. How to help? There are ways that we can stop these negative impacts on our environment. Although some problems do happen naturally, like soil erosion happening after rain, we can stop the human interactions that cause issues. One way by doing this is passing laws and regulations. There are laws in place currently that try to help our environment. One example of this is legislation that was passed in 1962 that was made with farmers to change land in order to save soil, water, forest, wildlife, and recreation resources. These laws put in place need to be enforced so that the environment can be protected. Also, more need to be added to that restrict things like overusing chemicals. Some other examples of protections put in place are the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act. The United States Environmental Protection Agency also does a lot of work to keep our environment safe.
The land we've been provided is being stripped of its nutrients and quality due to farming practices. The intensity of farming and deforestation is causing soil erosion, therefore causing the soil to contaminate waters and create floods. Overgrazing animals hurt soil crusts and compact soil so much that they can no longer provide for the plants. Although new farming practices may make things more efficient, they are negatively impacting the environment. Thus, farmers in the community need to work together to find new methods that cause less destruction.